Hello, everyone, and welcome to Collider Dailies, your number one stop for movie and TV news and discussion. I'm John Aljets, and joining me is...
Maggie Lovett, who happens to like movie news and television news and all sorts of discussions.
I mean, I would certainly hope so, considering, what you spend all your time doing. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I am sleepy.
That is a very relatable sensation.
Yeah, it's just, it is what it is. But anyways, today on the show, we're going to be talking about Disney and Fortnite and all of that sort of business with investment and all that sort of stuff. We're going to be talking about Knuckles news. We're also going to be, Maggie, you're going to be reviewing Lisa Frankenstein for us at the end of the show. How excited are you for that?
So excited. I love that movie so much.
But before we get into your thoughts, let's get through the news first. Let's talk about Disney investing $1.5 billion into Epic Games, the makers of Fortnite. That is a huge chunk of change. That is actually the most money that they have yet, or at least it is reportedly the most money that they have yet ever invested into anything related to gaming, which is huge. And the possibilities here for what that could mean as far as their collaboration with Fortnite or just their investment into Unreal Engine is pretty freaking big. Obviously, on one side, you have the Fortnite collaboration. So many, opportunities to have, Disney skins in Fortnite, which they already have a lot, but this could open the door for just an absolute deluge of Disney related cosmetics in the game and all that sort of stuff. That's definitely probably the thing that most people are talking about when it comes to this news. But there's also the fact that pouring that money into Epic Games is going to help bolster Unreal Engine, which is what they use for things involving the volume. So how they filmed The Mandalorian, how they filmed parts of Ahsoka, all that sort of stuff. That is technology that they seem to really be putting a lot of faith into. So, Maggie, what are your thoughts pertaining to this? Do you think that this is a gameplay or do you think this is a tech play?
I do think that it is a tech play. I'm obviously happy to see somebody investing in the gaming industry, especially on this scale, because obviously the last few months have been pretty brutal for the gaming industry. I will say I do kind of feel like I'm going to break out in hives every time Fortnite gets mentioned because I still have like war flashbacks from like the whole Rise of Skywalker debacle with watch parts of it. Fortnite. That was a weird era. I do tend to think Fortnite is a bit overrated, which may be my controversial opinion. And this is no knock to people who like Fortnite. I am going to sound like an ageist here, but I tried playing Fortnite at the start of the pandemic with some friends, and I genuinely felt like I needed to be approximately 14 years old to be playing the game. It just something about it felt so like teenage, preteen, like kid to it. So I do think in that regards, this is a really smart play for Disney because I do think Fortnite tends to skew to the younger demographic, which currently doesn't really have like a Disney Channel thing to like get invested in Disney in the way that like you and I did when we were younger. So I think that this is also a really smart marketing ploy because then you're going to get them invested in characters that they're like using their skins for and stuff in the game. And then they're going to go and maybe watch it on Disney Plus, or it's going to make them want to go to Disney World. For me, Kingdom Hearts was that. I still remember the first time that I saw the Disney 411 about the making of Kingdom Hearts. And I instantly went to my mom and I was like, I want to play this game. And I was never really like a Disney kid. Like, sure, I like Lion King, I like Beauty and the Beast, those kind of movies as a kid, but I wasn't like a Disney kid. And that trailer, that like going behind the scenes of how they were making Kingdom Hearts, like resonated with me. And I wanted to play that game. And then it became something that I still love now into my 30s. And like, I'm still buying stuff at the Disney parks related to Kingdom Hearts. Like that made me want to go to Disney World more than anything else, maybe except for like the Full House episode when they went to Disney World. That made me want to go to Disney World too. But I think that this, like, there's a multi-level of like smart investment here for Disney because this is kind of speaking to a generation of kids that doesn't have the same access to Disney content the way that we did. So
Speaking of Kingdom Hearts, I know that I mentioned on a previous episode because this is actually the second time this week that Kingdom Hearts has come up. My thing with Kingdom Hearts and why I think I never really dove into it too much was because I wasn't a Disney kid.
Mm.
And my interest in Kingdom Hearts came from the Final Fantasy side of Kingdom Hearts, which very quickly they like stopped really putting any effort into including. As their connection to Final Fantasy disappeared, so did my connection.
It's so funny because I had no knowledge of Final Fantasy, and Kingdom Hearts was my first introduction to that.
You
And
and a lot of people.
yeah, that was like my very first introduction. And I think I was it you that got mad at how I referred to Leon because
And
it's
which is funny because like I hate Final Fantasy 8 and I hate Squall. So like I shouldn't be upset at you calling him Leon, but it's like that's not his name. I
voiced
will never
by
understand why they did that.
Boreanaz in Kingdom Hearts.
I didn't hate him voicing the character. I'll at least give him that. But anyways, back on the topic at hand, the Fortnite thing. I think definitely this is if it is a play for Fortnite, it is going to definitely be, it's a big advertising thing. It's a big push for a younger demographic because even though there are people of all ages who play Fortnite, I know people my age who play Fortnite. I know people older than me who play Fortnite. I know a lot more people who are younger than me though who play Fortnite. It is something that skews a little bit more towards the slightly younger demographic, the sort of teenage years. Um, but that being said, I feel like this is going to be something that is going to be, it's very much like, hey, we want to support Fortnite, but also like make Unreal better so that our films can look prettier and look better, and the volume and all that technology, we can help advance that and save us a buttload of money because we don't have to film on location because we have this like super high def, super fast rendering volume, and we can just do that instead. We'll just have to see with time and see how that kind of turns out. I will say on the whole, I think this is a net positive for all sorts of things. Again, for the tech and also for the gaming side of things. As you said, it hasn't been a fantastic year for gaming just across the board. Epic has kind of been insulated from that a little bit just because Fortnite is such a cash cow. But, you know, it's a good thing regardless. Going into the chat here real quick. Speaking of Disney, we did get the surprise news that Moana 2 is coming out November this year. I actually debated having that as a topic today, which is why I want to address this in chat a little bit, just because we aren't going to do it as a topic. And the reason why we're not going to do it as a topic is because there just wasn't really much to that outside of just, hey, Moana 2 is coming. Here's like a shot of some feet in water. Have fun. But yes, that is pretty cool to see. Have we heard anything about the live action Moana that they talked about a while back?
But I will say I am really excited for Moana 2 because Bear and Barlow are the ones doing the music for it. Obviously of TikTok acclaim for their Bridgerton musical they came up with during the pandemic. Phenomenal composers and lyricists. So I am really excited to see that. Controversially, I'm not a huge fan of Lin-Manuel Miranda, so I know everybody was like, "Oh no, he's not coming back," and then I was like, "Ooh, this duo that I do like their stuff is stepping into that role." So I am curious to see about that.
That'll be good. So yeah, did want to address that a little bit. Thanks for bringing that up there, Steve. So let's roll on to our next topic, which is the Knuckles series trailer, which we got this morning. So Knuckles, obviously a character from Sonic the Hedgehog. It seems like he's getting his own spinoff based off the movies. This is going to be a 6-episode series on Paramount Plus that is going to reportedly be set between the events of Sonic 2 and Sonic 3, with Sonic 3 coming out. Is that later this year or is that early next year?
I think it's next year, but don't quote me on that.
So yeah, it's going to be focusing on Idris Elba's Knuckles, the Echidna, and it seems like he's going to be going on a whirlwind adventure to find himself and all that sort of wonderful coming of age sort of stuff. Maggie, did you watch the trailer? What did you think about it? Do you have any thoughts, predictions, feelings? Anger,
None.
rage,
I mean,
resentment?
I don't really think much about Sonic the Hedgehog at all. That was never a game that I was interested in as a kid, and I like, yay, James Marsden was in the movies. I love him. Yay for him. They filmed in Vancouver. All of my favorite locations were used in the shooting of it. I'm happy for people who like Knuckles. I don't really have much to say on it. I think it's fun that, like, obviously the Sonic movies were such a hit that they're making TV shows. A great creative team. Obviously, Idris Elba would listen to him read the phone book. So, I mean, but no, I honestly, this is kind of in the same world as like Despicable Me, where I'm just like happy for people who are happy about it. I have
Honestly, the thing about the trailer that surprised me the most is the fact that Idris Elba is actually doing it. Like with something like this, with a series and with Idris, who seems to be constantly constantly busy, constantly seems to be doing stuff. This seemed like the sort of project where I would have expected them to bring in like a sound alike instead of actually using Idris. But having him come back, I think is super cool. And we'll just have to see what this might
likes the
mean.
character too. I think that's part of it. Like he's
Yeah.
like a big nerd about Sonic the Hedgehog. And honestly, I have to say, like, I really like that the people who are involved with Sonic seem to like unabashedly love that they're in it. Like even the fact that Jim Carrey wants to keep coming back and that role is like really cool. And
Yeah, even though he's like retired, he's like, no, I'll come back
yeah,
for
especially because he used to have that rule where he would never do sequels, but now he's done a trilogy essentially. I think that's really cool. I think it's fun to see actors that you wouldn't necessarily expect to be like emotionally invested in like a role in essentially a kids thing.
Yeah.
Love doing it. That makes me happy.
Well, I will say that if filming behind the scenes is as fun as the movies wind up being, because to me that's what they are. They're just super fun.
Yeah.
They're not like, massive tour de force like award winning. They're never going to be. Nobody ever expected that from Sonic. But they are a lot of fun. And if filming and producing these things is as fun as they wind up being, I could 100% understand why people are super jazzed to be involved. I will say the Knuckles series though does have me kind of wondering, like, what is Knuckles? How is Knuckles going to play into Sonic 3? Is he going to have a lesser role because maybe this series overlaps with the events of Sonic 3, so maybe he's not in it as much? I don't know. We'll have to see. Maybe Knuckles will feed directly into Sonic 3 and we'll get some more setup for Shadow, who's going to be appearing in Sonic 3. But that's a whole rabbit hole that I could go down that only like me and the like 4 Sonic nerds who dare to watch this show would care to listen to. So that's where we will leave it. I will say I loved the trailer. I thought it looked like a ton of fun, and it looks like something that I'm going to really enjoy watching. And Maggie apparently has no opinion one way or the other.
It's just not for me, and that's okay.
Not everything needs to be for everyone.
Exactly.
And it is okay for someone to not like something.
And it's
Or
not
to
that
not
I don't like
care.
it, I'm just ambivalent to it.
Yeah.
It's like it's a thing that's, like, there if I wanna watch it. I mean, I saw the first Sonic because I like James Marsden, and I also wanted to see, like, the Teeth debacle, um, and see how that panned out.
Where
Um,
do you fall on the conspiracy theory that the bad CGI Sonic in the first film was never ever actually intended to be used, and they put that out with the intention of generating hype for the movie?
I don't believe in that conspiracy because there were VFX people who talked about how that, like, backlash caused them to have to do so much extra work. And given how overworked VFX people are, like,
Well, obviously.
yeah, I feel like that it was just an unfortunate thing. And I think ultimately it probably came down to like somebody approved designs and then like, things happen, things have to move quickly in that world. So unfortunately it just meant people had to do extra work, which is never a fun thing.
I have no idea who possibly could have approved that design. Like, who looked at that and thought that was a good idea?
I will say the one thing that I do like about the Sonic movies is that they filmed largely in Fort Langley and Vancouver, which is like one of my favorite places I've ever been to. So it is nice to like be like, oh look, there's that. Oh look, they filmed in Steveston. Look, there's Montauk Bay. Like all the little things, and I'm like, memories. It's beautiful, and so to that credit, I will give Sonic that credit. So nice
Well,
little
it's good for you to give them something.
Sonic.
Anyways, now let's move on to talking about something, Maggie, that you do have some opinions on, and you do have some thoughts and feelings on. So you got the chance to see Lisa Frankenstein.
Yes.
I actually believe you missed out on an episode of Dailies to go watch it.
It is true. It was
Yeah.
a mid-afternoon screening back in January. And this is going to be a spoiler-free review. So if you haven't seen it yet, buy your tickets. I think there's early screenings tonight, and then obviously it comes out officially tomorrow. Highly recommend it. But yeah, I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm going to talk generalizations.
Well, hit me with your first. Let's start this off. Hit me with your back of the box blurb. Like if they were to quote you on the Blu-ray, what would be the quote?
This is a movie for the girly pops who grew up obsessed with Lydia Dietz and Beetlejuice, that have frequently quoted, my life is a dark room. I have a poster of that over there. This is also for the girls that used to spend lots of time on Tumblr looking at the My Daguerreotype boyfriend page that used to share like old pictures of hot dead guys. And this is for the cemetery girls everywhere, which I am. This is also for monster romance lovers, which will come as no surprise to anyone who's watched previous episodes of Collider Dailies. So that is 100% up my alley. And I think that was kind of the biggest surprise coming into Lisa Frankenstein, because I didn't necessarily know if we were going to get a happily ever after type of story, just because there's a lot of stuff that happens in this that would make you think, oh no, this is going to end badly. And I don't think it's a spoiler to say there's a happily ever after type of situation happening, because I think that is something that is so important in media today. We do not get a lot of happily ever afters and things. And so I think that's a big sell for people going into this that don't want to come out of it super depressed. And so this movie was just like a neon joy. It was so 1980s. If anybody has been on TikTok for like the last couple of years and has watched the videos that Maris puts out that are like these fun, like different eras vibes, it's very much aesthetically similar to her stuff, which is just like exactly the kind of like eye candy that I like to kind of consume. And there's not a lot of that except for the movies that are in the 80s. And this feels like a movie that somebody has unearthed a VHS of from the 1980s that never actually went to theaters and has like put it out, because it feels so perfectly situated within the 1980s, which is when it's set. And yeah, it's everything. I think it's a little bit more than the back of the box at blurb that you were asking
Yeah,
for.
that was a very long, very long. That was like an insert into the DVD case that they had to put in, and it's like a 3-page long thing. Although if anybody from the studio is listening, which we know you are, there's probably a poll in there somewhere, so I hope you wrote that down.
Yeah. Brevity and I are not friends, and that is okay.
That's fine. So let's get into it a little bit. So obviously, Kathryn Newton and Cole Sprouse are two leads here. How did they do?
They're phenomenal. So obviously, like, I am of an era where I'm also only like a couple years younger than Cole Sprouse. But when I think Cole Sprouse, I think the Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. That is still kind of where I am. Obviously, he had Riverdale, but this is such a really different performance for him because by design, he doesn't really have any dialogue. And so he's doing a lot of like physical performance and like facial performance and stuff. And he does it so well. He pulls off all of this like communication with Kathryn's character, Lisa, in a way that you don't necessarily notice that there's no dialogue, because you're understanding he's conveying the emotions and kind of helping to push the plot along through his physical performance in a lot of ways. And Kathryn is just phenomenal. I think I've loved her in everything I've seen her in. Obviously, one of my favorite roles of her was Society, the canceled Netflix series. But she's just such a talented actress, and she really carries as the lead for this. And again, very much fits into this like 1980s aesthetics that a lot of us like gravitated towards characters like Lydia Dietz and I'm blanking on the character's name, and like Edward Scissorhands, but it's very much that kind of Burton-esque lead role.
Late 80s, early 90s Winona Ryder.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. She's hitting that sweet spot really well.
And this is if I'm not mistaken, this is the directorial debut of Zelda Williams.
Featured directorial
Featured
debut.
directorial debut, yes. How in your opinion, how did she do?
Phenomenal. I was so surprised to learn that this was like her feature debut because she has such a great directorial eye, and some of the stuff that they do like style wise is so inventive and creative. The way that the like opening credits are, created to tell the story kind of as a prequel, and then some of the very almost French to some extent. There's a lot of that French vibe to some of the kind of pop out moments where we kind of go into like a dream state for Lisa and some of these other little things that really surprised me, because you could have easily have directed this very like straight across the board, not really going into like the style that is necessary, and the style that she's brought to this is what really helps to capture those vibes. And I cannot wait to see what she does next. I mean, off to a really great start.
So I guess the major thing, and I feel like this might be the most telling thing as far as like what your opinion of this film is. Let's say that you had like 3 hours of open spare time and you were next to a movie theater. Would you go in and rewatch this movie even though you've already seen it?
100%. I came straight out of that screening wanting to see it again. And I was like so mad that I saw it so early that I was so far away from the next screening date for it, because it's so good. And like to your point, that is kind of like the highest honor that I could give a film, is like the desire to rewatch it, because I have an issue with not wanting to rewatch things like ever. Like there's a few like sitcom type shows and things like that I can rewatch, and then like I have a handful of comfort films that I'll rewatch if they're like on TV, on direct TV somewhere, or if I'm like needing something in the background. But in general, I don't like rewatching things. I'm kind of like one and done, I move on. Same way with conversations. Weirdly, I don't like hearing the same story more than once. I'll be like, got it, you already told me that.
Wow, that I'm the wrong person for you to hang around with.
It's okay. Like that's just how I've always been. My friends would want to like rewatch movies all the time, and I'd be like, we just watched this the other day. So coming out of this, it left me with such a good feeling that I was like, when is the next possible time that I can see this? Like, when can I own it? I want to own the physical DVD of it. Like, I want to continue to watch this in the same way that like movies like Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhand, Corpse Bride, all of those movies that were so fundamental and like my kind of goth macabre upbringing. This really seizes on all of that, and almost in like the perfect crystallization of all of it. And I think that's one of the reasons that I liked it so much, was because it felt familiar by design.
Well, so it definitely sounds like, Maggie, that you really, really enjoyed this
I
movie.
did.
So
It was an A+ for me. I had zero qualms about it. I just wish it could have been longer so I could just keep living in that world, because it's such a fun universe that Diablo Cody has created. And that was like something else that was kind of a surprise for me. I kind of went into this with zero expectations because, controversially, I didn't like Jennifer's Body. Like it was a fine film, but it wasn't like cult classic in the way that it was for a lot of people. So I was like, I kind of was carrying the baggage of like, do I like Diablo Cody or not? Love whatever was in the sauce when she was making this one. It worked for me. And it was great because I've seen some interviews she's done where she talked about like, indeed, Lydia Dietz was kind of her inspiration for some of this. And so instantly this movie was made for me on so many levels. And I'm also a little tickled by the fact that the Lisa Frankenstein Twitter retweeted my post about being a cemetery girl, where I shared my graduation pictures.
Can we talk about those pictures for a second?
Yeah.
And the fact that you're wearing a fedora?
Yeah, I mean, it was 2011, 2010.
Even in 2011, I don't think fedoras were acceptable.
I'm sorry. It was twee, and fedoras were indeed a very
That doesn't help.
to judge me for fedoras, because they were very much in, especially and for the girls who were like the goth girlies, which I very much was spiritually, not necessarily in the way that I dressed, but I was very much into the, brooding over evanescence and that vibe.
Anyways, Skywalker's Academy asks, how was the music, Maggie?
The music was great. You very much had like the 80s soundtrack vibes, the synth, everything like that. It has an epic, I would say, kick-ass soundtrack. And a
Good.
lot of it is about music too. So there's a lot to it about musical stuff. So you will, if you like music and you like 80s music, you're gonna enjoy this.
So yeah, so if you have some time, be sure to go check out Lisa Frankenstein and form your own opinion, and let us know on social media if your opinions align with Maggie, or if maybe you feel a little bit differently about the film. Just, hit us up, let us know. That's all that we have time for today. Before we go, though, we're going to dive into the chat a little bit, because I feel like we haven't interacted with the chat as much this episode as I'd like to. So let's kind of just dive into a few of the comments that have jumped out at me today. Earlier on, when we were talking about the game industry and sort of the state of things, Mike Joyce said, "Rip Xbox." So this is referring to the fact that Xbox or Microsoft announced that a whole bunch of their like exclusives are going to be put onto other consoles, including PlayStation. I understand the sentiment of "Rip Xbox," but here's my thought on this, Mike. Microsoft is like one of the biggest companies in the world, and Xbox, they recently came out on an earnings call. I want to, maybe it was the most recent one. It might've been the one before that. They pointed out that Xbox has never been financially like a net positive for them. It's always been at a loss. So even without exclusives, Xbox isn't going anywhere. It's going to continue to trudge on because it's a brand play at that point. So I don't think that there's a lot of people who are saying "Rip Xbox," and I don't think that that is something that we need to be worrying too much about. Maggie, do you have any thoughts on that? That's very much a me thing, I think.
I think that's why I was like, I've never played on Xbox except at like friends' houses, so I have never really paid much attention to Xbox stuff. Um, I mean, I'm all for things that are not exclusive to consoles. I think that exclusivity is very limiting. And when so much of gaming is about being a community, I think that it is super unfair that you're kind of forced to either be like, I'm strictly a PlayStation person or I'm strictly an Xbox person, because financially it's kind of impossible to own every gaming console and then also pay for like the subscription services and like all of the things required. And also people just don't have spaces to have that many gaming consoles. So I am all for killing exclusivity.
I will also just say that as someone who is primarily a PC gamer, we've been getting these quote unquote exclusive games on PC for years now from both Microsoft and Sony. So it doesn't affect me at all. Okay. Where was the other one that I specifically pulled out? All in the Game said, "Shocked there's no Incredibles 3 given all the sequels that were announced." Yeah, Incredibles 3 is definitely one of those ones that I feel like we've all sort of expected to be coming at some point, but we haven't heard anything even remotely official about it. So that's not one that I'm necessarily shocked wasn't there, but it would have been nice to see it, is how I sort of feel about it. Maggie, do you think that we're going to see an Incredibles 3 within our lifetime?
No,
Considering how long it took for us to get Incredibles 2.
I genuinely
Feel
don't.
like.
It feels like they've kind of moved on from The Incredibles, which is sad because, like, I think a lot of us really liked Incredibles. I have very visceral memories of like renting Incredibles from Blockbuster. There's a throwback for you. So I don't know. I think that they're really focused on things like Moana and Frozen and Zootopia for I mean, we're not going to get into that on here, but I think we know why Zootopia performs so well. So,
At least partially.
yeah. Uh,
uh
go Disney.
Couple more quick comments. This one we're going to get through quickly just because I want to call it out. Carlton Rudder said, "Good evening from the UK. Great to finally catch a live video after listening to so many podcasts whilst walking my dog." Here's what I have to say to you. If you do not tweet at one of us a picture of that dog, I am going to be very upset. Because now that you have made us aware of the fact that you have a dog, I need to see. I want to see some cute puppers. So please send them our way. And also, Thank you for joining us live. Finally, All in the Game says, thoughts on Disney getting into the Taylor Swift business. Will her movie do better than Hamilton's numbers on Disney Plus? I'm gonna direct this one to you because you're the Taylor Swift person.
Yeah. I think it's a smart play financially for Disney. I think this was a big get. We've obviously had, Lover and Long Pond Studio already on Disney, which were, did fantastically for them. I definitely think it'll likely eclipse Hamilton if it's played right. I do think we are starting to get at a saturation point for Taylor Swift. So it will be interesting to see if that March 15th date, what happens between now and then, because I definitely think we're kind of hitting that post Grammys. You're starting to see the tide shift. But I do think obviously people are still kind of come out in droves for that, resubscribe to Disney Plus. I do have a lot of controversial feelings about the way that the Eras Tour movie has been handled and its distribution. I think that it is a bit money grubbing to continue to release different versions of it in different platforms. But as some people have already noted, it's not dissimilar from the fact that you used to have to buy like 3 versions of a DVD to get like all the deleted scenes and like all the special features. So it's still very much that. But I do think that there's a shift now just because economically people are not maybe doing as well as like the heyday of digital media. So I definitely see where like those arguments are coming in. But I do think it's a really smart play for Disney. It'll be curious to see if they continue to do more of these like concert tour, deals, because I think there's obviously a market for it. People even who have seen the concert live want to relive that experience. I rewatched the Reputation tour on Netflix a lot before Netflix took that off. So I think it's a smart play.
Yeah, so there you go. I have no dog in this fight, so I don't have an opinion on it.
You don't have a dog in this fight, but Carlton says there's a dog coming, so we're going to be getting a dog.
I am looking forward to that. As I said, I need some cute puppers. And honestly, if anybody watching has cute dogs and they want to send them my way on Twitter or any other social media platform, by all means, please hit me with them. I would love to see them. And that's all that we have time for here on this episode. Maggie, do you have anything coming down the pipeline that you want to plug? Anything you got going on?
I have my interviews from the new look coming out next week, as well as my review for the new look, which I'm very excited about. Ben Mendelsohn is delightful. That is the interview that I'm the most excited to share. I wish I could have had like an hour with him because he was just absolutely tremendously great. But 8 minutes will have to suffice. I'm really excited about that. If you like history, if you are, interested in World War II, the series is coming out on Apple TV Plus next week, and I think it is just tremendous. So I think a lot of people will enjoy it. It is very heavy though. Do not go into it thinking that you're going to get like a Cliff Notes happy version of, fashion during World War II. It's heavy. It's a lot.
Well, yeah, so definitely check those out. Collider.com. When they come out, you'll be able to find that. You'll also be able to find anything else that we've been working on, including the premium video stuff that I have been putting in my blood, sweat, and tears, and literally all of my time on. What that means is that if you're on the website and you see a article thumbnail that has a little like play button in the corner, that means there's a video element to it. It can be a feature video, which is what I work on. It could be an interview clip. It could be like a exclusive like clip from a show or something like that. It could be any of those different things. So go ahead and check those out, or just peruse the website and like read all the great coverage that we have over there. So tomorrow it's going to be you and me, correct?
I believe so.
I think so.
I'm
trying to remember the schedule.
I think it's changed, but I think it's us.
Yeah, I think it's us. So be sure to be back here tomorrow, same bat time, same bat place. And we will bring you even more movie news and discussion. But until then, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.